Be thou mine.
Hello, my name's Luke. I'm a third year studying advertising at the University of Gloucestershire. I was brought up in a Christian home, which I always thank God for having that, and I've been at church all my life. I went to Sunday school and was taught throughout my years about God and the stories from the Bible. I think I've always believed that there was a God, even from when I was young, but to be honest, I could have believed anything when I was that age. I could have been told my mum was a superhero and believed them. So at that age, I just believed anything that was told to me, really. It wasn't until I went to a holiday club when I was about 8 years old at my church where I truly understood about what it was to be a Christian and what it meant to be a follower of Jesus and what it means, what he did on the cross. And that was the first time I was challenged about it, and I went to find out more. And I remember when I went to sleep that night, I just couldn't get to sleep. I went down to my parents and was like, I heard of this at the holiday club today, and I just wanted to know more. And my parents explained to me in more detail about what it was about. And I just realised at that moment that I wanted to be a Christian. I wanted to be a follower of Jesus. I believed that he had died for me and that my sins were forgiven. And so that night, I became a Christian. It wasn't until I was about sort of 13 or so where I started to sort of veer away from going to church and not going to youth group at all. And I don't have any reason for why that happened. It just was a gradual thing that happened. And so I was literally just going to church when my family did, and I just didn't want to go to church otherwise. I just wanted to go as little as possible. And my parents started to see that this was, starting to be a problem, that I was starting to become more distant with God, and that I wasn't really enjoying church. And so that was the point when they sort of encouraged me to start going to youth group again, and were trying to encourage me to get back in my faith. I think through this time I was still a Christian. I just didn't believe, I just didn't want to get involved with things that were happening at church and in my youth group. So my parents forced me along to go back to youth group, which I thank them for now, but at the time I didn't particularly enjoy. It took me quite a while to get back into sort of being at youth group and sort of making friends and stuff. I was quite sort of shy at this sort of age. And it wasn't until sort of later on when we went on a holiday for a week where I just had like the greatest time, which really helped me to start enjoying youth group, really made some great friends, and then this helped me to encourage me to go along to church. But something that didn't really come back was my confidence in my faith. I was still pretty bad at sort of being open with non-Christians, and especially at school I really didn't talk about it at all, if anything. It wasn't until I went to a baptism service when I was about 17 for a baptism at my church, where an illustration was used which really hit home and made me realise that I needed to change the way I was living. And it was an illustration based on a situation from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And the contestant was on the 500,000. He just got the £500,000 question, so that was in the bag, and he was ready to go for the £1 million question. He had no lifelines left. Chris Tarrant asks him the question, and then Chris Tarrant goes, "Do you think you know the answer?" And the contestant goes, "I think I know which answer it is, but I don't want to risk losing all the money." So he decides to stick with £500,000. And he says this is like people who know that there is a God and that he exists, but aren't committing their lives to him, and how we as Christians need to make sure that we are going to that step ahead when we know the answer, to commit our lives to Jesus. And that just made me realise that I needed to do that. I needed to make that step. I was at the £500,000 question stage, and I needed to make that big step forward because I knew the answer, and I needed to give my life properly to Christ. God has really used me a lot. He's really helped me grow through my time I had on my gap year when I was travelling, and to sort of make friends in the workplace, for them coming to university. And I never would have thought that I would be now living in a house full of non-Christians and being brave enough to do that, and living as a Christian in front of them and just really sharing my faith with them. And also the fact that I'm now president of the CU, I just never thought that would happen 4 or 5 years ago. And it just shows just how amazing it can be when you let God into your life, and all glory goes to him.